Okay. All right. Daily Tanya live with, for Tuesday, the 2nd of Elul, August 26th. So we're continuing Epistle 10, where we spoke about how God giving life to the worlds is in order, is necessary to exist. You need God's creative energy to exist. Now, you need God's creative energy to exist. Um, but it can't be limitless because you can't handle that as a limited creature. So it has to be tapered to the recipient's ability. Therefore, it's a mixture, a hybrid of chesed, free kindness, but through the the vessel of gevura, of limitation. Okay, so
Okay.
that's what we have now. Um, and that's why not just God's creative energy, the Torah is God's, message to us. So we'll say in 74, because the commandments were given to us by being vested in the attribute of Givura and by the contraction of the divine radiation, it comes out most commandments have a delimited measure. And he gives examples. Mitzvahs, halacha, is very specific. There's measurements, there's time, space, place, person. For example, the length of tzitzis must be 12 times the width of a thumb. I don't know, that's roughly like 4 inches or something. If they're less than that amount, 3, 4 inches, then they're puzzle, they're invalid. Tefillin, what God gives us through the tefillin, has to come about according to halacha, 2 finger breaths by 2 finger breaths, and be square. Tefillin can't be round. Like, who cares? If God wants you to get tefillin vibes, what do you need square tefillin? It's very specific. The lulav, 4 hand breaths. Sukkah, widthwise, minimum 7 hand breaths. The shofar, minimum 1 hand breath. A mikveh has to be 40 sa, something like 20 gallons or something. And the karbana, the sacrifices, which is a huge part of the Judaism in temple times. There's a limit. A sheep is 1 year, a ram is 2 year, oxen, and so on. So this is obvious. This is very pervasive. Judaism is very into the details. And that is a reflection of God's flowing, transmitting messages to us through the Torah, but through the prism of gevura, of limitation, of tapering the boundless godly wisdom and 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 God's energy tapered into a holding container, which is why the mitzvah has a specific dimension. Now he says, remember, this is a communal letter for fundraising. The same, he says, applies to the act of charity and to the practice of kindness with one's money. There's two types. There's charity, which is you're giving a handout to a poor person, and and benevolence doesn't have to be charity. Benevolence could be you give eggs to your neighbor. Your neighbor can afford, the eggs, that type of thing. This is called gemilus chasadim, just benevolent behavior. All of that, um, all of that is a mitzvah, and it's a big mitzvah. It's one of the pillars the world stands on. It stands on, according to the Mishnah. And it says in the Torah, in Psalms, the world is built by chesed, by kindness. So kindness is a very important part of existence as a human in this world. God's kindness and our kindness. Nevertheless, even charity has a set amount. It's preferably 20%. If not, medium is 10% for average, the tithe, but not more than 20%. And that is what is called, we mentioned at the beginning that there's two types of kindness. This is called the chesed of the world-oriented kindness. In other words, it's tapered for the limited world. The kindness of God that endures throughout the day, which is vested in the higher and lower worlds. Through the arousal from below, meaning God's giving us energy and existence, which is to some degree in response to our, good deeds, the precept of charity and kindness that we practice for each other. However, because the world is finite and measured, in the words of the Talmud, that the distance from the earth to the heavens is 500 walking years. And from one heaven to the other is another 500 walking years, whatever that means. But there's a beginning. It's very vast, but there's a beginning and end. And it says the world will exist for 6,000 years in the Gemara. And the Mashiach comes. Right?
Where does it say
So
6,000? Is it here or is it in the Gemara?
76 here, page 76, it quotes the Gemara. And it says, so therefore, because while you could say God's energy is always unlimited, and God's giving, continuously, endlessly, but the world is limited. And therefore, the expectation of us doing charity and kindness is also limited, as any commandment in the Torah. But tomorrow we're going to talk about we can tap in to a higher form of God's kindness and presence by acting in an unlimited way. And that we'll talk about tomorrow.